The pen in her hand froze midair. Dae-hyun watched the color drain from Naomi's face like someone had opened a valve in her chest. Her lips parted. No sound came out. Just breath, short, shallow, breaking. Dae-hyun. The diner went silent. Not the peaceful kind. The kind where even the coffee machine seemed to hold its breath. Rain hammered the windows behind him, streaking the glass with shadows that looked like claw marks. His black suit dripped water onto the checkered floor. The scar along his jaw caught the overhead light, a jagged reminder of a life she didn't know he'd lived. 10 years. 10 years since California sunlight and shared lunches. 10 years since police sirens tore his family apart and left him standing alone in a country that never wanted him. He hadn't come here for business. He'd come because his driver mentioned a waitress who looked like a ghost from his past. A name he'd buried so deep he thought it stopped breathing. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Naomi's uniform was faded red, worn at the seams. Her hair, still that soft brown he remembered, was tied back tight, like she was trying to hold herself together with a rubber band. But her eyes, those gentle brown eyes that once told him he mattered, they hadn't changed. Except now, they were afraid. She glanced toward the kitchen. Quick, nervous, like someone checking for a guard. Table 4, a voice barred from the back. Sharp, male, impatient. Naomi flinched. The pen trembled against her notepad. She forced a smile. The kind waitresses were when their feet hurt and their tips don't cover rent. What can I get you? Her voice cracked on the last word. Dae-hyun didn't answer. He was too busy reading the bruise along her wrist. Purple, fresh, the kind that comes from fingers, not accidents. Something cold settled in his chest. The same feeling he got before a rival syndicate made a mistake. Before someone crossed a line they couldn't uncross. Just coffee, he said quietly. She nodded, turned away. That's when he saw it, the way she walked. Careful, like the floor might open up and swallow her if she stepped wrong. The rain outside grew louder. Or maybe it was just his heartbeat. Dae-hyun pulled out his phone, typed 3 words to his lieutenant. Find this place. Because 10 years ago, Naomi Brooks saved him with kindness when no one else would. She sat with the quiet Korean kid who didn't speak English well, who ate lunch alone, who flinched when teachers called his name. She made him feel human, and now someone was making her feel like she wasn't. Naomi returned with the coffee. Her hand shook as she set the cup down. Hot liquid sloshed over the rim, burning her thumb. She didn't even react, just wiped it on her apron like pain was normal. Naomi. His voice came out rougher than he intended. She froze again. This time her eyes met his, really met his. And for 1 second, the diner dissolved. No crime, no empire, no bodyguards waiting in the car outside. Just 2 people who once knew what hope felt like. How did you? She stopped, swallowed. How did you find me? I didn't, he said. Not on purpose. A crash echoed from the kitchen. Naomi's whole body tensed. Her gaze snapped toward the sound, then back to him. Fear flickered across her face like a neon sign shorting out. I have to go, she whispered. But before she could move, the kitchen door slammed open. What secret is Naomi hiding that makes her more terrified of her boss than a man who looks like he stepped out of a nightmare? Drop your guess below. The manager's boots hit the tile like a judge's gavel. Reed Calver wasn't tall, but he took up space the way bullies do, loud, thick-shouldered, with a beer gut that pressed against his stained white shirt. His face was red, not from exertion, from anger that lived there permanently, like a tenant who refused to leave. Naomi, he jabbed a finger toward the kitchen. You gonna stand there flirting, or are you gonna do your damn job? She moved immediately. No argument, no hesitation, just obedience that made Dae-hyun's jaw tighten. Reed's eyes slid to him, sized him up, dismissed him. That's what bullies did when they thought they were safe. When they didn't recognize a predator sitting 3 feet away wearing a tailored suit. Sorry about that, Reed said, his tone shifting to something fake and slick. Girls knew, still learning. Dae-hyun didn't blink. She said her name was Naomi, not girl. The temperature in the room dropped 5 degrees. Reed's smile flickered. Right? Sure. Naomi. He turned back toward the kitchen, muttering something under his breath that sounded like sensitive and customers. The moment he disappeared, Naomi reappeared with a rag, wiping down a table that was already clean. Her movements were mechanical, practiced, the kind of routine people develop when they're trying to become invisible. Dae-hyun watched her, really watched her, the way her shoulders hunched forward like she was bracing for impact, the way she avoided eye contact with every customer, the way she kept glancing at the clock above the register like she was counting down to something. Outside, a car horn blared. She jumped. He remembered a different version of her. 16 years old, laughing in the school cafeteria because he'd tried to pronounce hamburger and it came out wrong. She didn't laugh at him. She laughed with him. There was a difference. He'd spent his whole life learning the difference. That girl didn't exist anymore. This version, this tired, bruised, scared version, was a stranger wearing Naomi's face. He pulled a 20 from his wallet, left it on the table even though the coffee cost $3. When she came to clear his cup, her eyes widened. That's too much. Keep it. I can't. You can. His voice was firm but not cruel. You already did. Confusion flickered across her face. Then recognition. Slow, painful recognition. You remember, she whispered. Every day. He stood buttoning his coat. The lunches. The way you helped me with English homework. The way you told me I wasn't broken just because I didn't talk much. Her eyes filled with water. Not tears. Not yet. Just the warning that tears were coming if she didn't lock them down fast. That was a long time ago, she said, her voice barely audible. Not long enough to forget. The bell above the door chimed. An older couple walked in, shaking rain from their jackets. Naomi straightened immediately, slipping back into her waitress mask. But Dae-hyun saw the crack in the mask, the bruise on her wrist, the fear in her eyes when Reed's voice echoed from the kitchen. And he made a decision that would change everything. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from his lieutenant. Owner info in 20 minutes. Good, because people who hurt the innocent didn't get to keep breathing easy in his world. And Naomi Brooks, the girl who once made him believe kindness existed, was about to learn that some debts get paid in blood, not money. If someone saved your life once, how far would you go to return the favor? Even if it meant becoming the monster they never knew you were? The penthouse smelled like leather and whiskey. Dae-hyun stood at the floor-to-ceiling window, watching Los Angeles bleed neon into the night. 40 stories below, cars moved like ants. People lived entire lives down there. Births, deaths, betrayals. And never once looked up to see who was watching. He didn't feel powerful. He felt tired. His lieutenant, Min Jae, sat at the glass table behind him, flipping through a manila folder like it was a restaurant menu. The man was older, sharper, with silver streaking his black hair and a scar that split his left eyebrow in half. He'd been with Dae-hyun since the beginning, since Busan, since blood first stained his hands. The velvet spoon, Min Jae said, his voice flat and clinical. Registered under a shell corporation. Actual owner is Reed Calver, 43, former LAPD, fired 6 years ago for excessive force and evidence tampering. Dae-hyun's reflection in the window didn't move. What's he running? Officially? A diner. Unofficially? Loan sharking. Debt traps. He targets immigrant women, promises work visas, legal help, then buries them in contracts they can't read. And Naomi, Min Jae, turned a page. Signed 2 years ago. Mother had stage 3 cancer. Medical bills hit 6 figures. Naomi dropped out of nursing school to work. Reed offered her a loan, $15,000 at 30% interest. She's been paying it off ever since. Dae-hyun's hand curled into a fist against the glass. How much does she still owe? $42,000. The math didn't make sense. It wasn't supposed to. That was how predators worked. They made the rules, then changed them whenever the prey got close to freedom. Where's her passport? Dae-hyun asked. Reed keeps all employee documents in his office safe. Won't release them until debts are cleared. Min Jae closed the folder. She's trapped. The word hung in the air like smoke. Trapped. Dae-hyun knew that word. Knew it the way some people knew their own name. He'd been trapped once, by poverty, by immigration laws, by a father who died in a warehouse fire that wasn't an accident. He clawed his way out using violence and strategy and a willingness to do things good people didn't talk about. But Naomi? She'd never hurt anyone, never lied, never took what wasn't hers. She'd just been kind to the wrong person in a world that punished kindness. Pull Reed's financials, Dae-hyun said quietly. Every account, every property, every dirty dollar he's ever touched. Min-jae raised an eyebrow. You want to buy her dead? No. Dae-hyun turned from the window. His eyes were cold, the kind of cold that made grown men look away. I want to erase it. And him. Min-jae didn't argue. He never did. That's why he'd survived this long. What about the girl? Min-jae asked. She's going to know it was you. Let her. That's dangerous. Witnesses. She's not a witness. Dae-hyun's voice cut through the room like a blade. She's the reason I didn't become my father. Silence. Min-jae stood, tucking the folder under his arm. I'll have everything by morning. No. Dae-hyun checked his watch. I want it in 2 hours. And tell the driver to bring the car. Where are you going? Dae-hyun grabbed his coat from the chair. The black will still smell like rain and diner coffee. Back to the Velvet Spoon. It's almost midnight. The place will be closed. Exactly. Min-jae's expression shifted. Understanding settled in. You're going to confront him tonight. I'm going to end him tonight. Would you walk away from someone who once saved you? Or would you burn the world down to make sure they never suffer again? The diner's lights were dim when Dae-hyun arrived. Only 2 cars in the lot. One was a rusted Toyota with a dented bumper. The other was a black pickup truck with mud-streaked tires and a bumper sticker that said "Back the Blue." Reed's truck. Dae-hyun sat in the back of a sedan, engine idling, watching the building through rain-streaked glass. His driver, a younger guy named Tae-sung, glanced in the rearview mirror. Want me to go in first? Tae-sung asked. No. Want backup? No. Want me to call Min-jae? Dae-hyun's eyes stayed locked on the diner. I want you to wait here. If I'm not out in 20 minutes, leave. Tae-sung frowned. Boss. That's an order. The driver went silent. Dae-hyun stepped out into the rain. It was colder now, sharper, like the sky was trying to wash something dirty off the earth. His shoes splashed through puddles as he crossed the parking lot. The diner's neon sign buzzed and flickered. Half the letters were burned out. It didn't say the Velvet Spoon anymore. It said the VETSPN. Fitting. He pushed the door open. The bell chimed. Inside, the air smelled like grease and bleach. The booths were empty. The lights were low, and at the far end of the counter, Naomi stood with her back to him, scrubbing the same spot over and over like she could erase the entire day if she just worked hard enough. She didn't turn around. We're closed, she said, her voice flat. I know. She froze. The rag slipped from her hand, landing in the sink with a wet slap. Slowly, she turned. Her face was different now. No forced smile, no waitress mask, just exhaustion and something else, something that looked like resignation. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. Neither should you. Her eyes darted toward the kitchen door. He's still here. If he sees you, good. Dae-hyun, you don't understand. I understand that you're trapped. I understand that he's keeping your passport. I understand that the debt you're paying isn't real. His voice stayed calm, controlled. And I understand that you've been carrying this alone for 2 years. Naomi's breath hitched. How do you? Because I pay people to know things. She took a step back, wrapping her arms around herself like she was trying to hold her own pieces together. What are you now? Some kind of, she stopped. Looked at him. Really looked. The suit. The scar. The way he stood like violence was just another language he spoke fluently. Oh my God, she breathed. You're one of them. You're. The kitchen door slammed open. Reed stood in the doorway, holding a half-empty beer bottle. His eyes were glassy, unfocused, drunk, angry. A dangerous combination. The hell is this? He slurred, pointing the bottle at Dae-hyun. I told you we're closed, buddy. Dae-hyun didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. Reed's face twisted into something ugly. You deaf or stupid? Get out before I call the cops. Call them, Dae-hyun said quietly. I'll wait. Reed's grip tightened on the bottle. He took a step forward, swaying. You think you're funny? You think you can come into my place? Your place. Dae-hyun's voice dropped lower, colder. You mean the place you stole from women who trusted you? Reed's face went red. Who the hell do you think you are? Dae-hyun took one step forward. Just one. But the energy in the room shifted. The air got heavier, thicker. I'm someone you should have never met, he said softly. Reed lunged. What happens when a monster meets the only person who ever saw him as human and has to choose between mercy and revenge? The bottle shattered against the counter. Glass exploded across the tile, glittering like broken stars under the fluorescent lights. Reed swung wild, his fist cutting through empty air where Dae-hyun's face had been a second before. Dae-hyun moved like water, smooth, inevitable cold. He sidestepped, grabbed Reed's wrist mid-swing, and twisted. The sound of bone breaking was sharp, clean, final. Reed's scream filled the diner, bouncing off the walls, the empty booths, the photographs of a Los Angeles that didn't exist anymore. He dropped to his knees, cradling his arm, spit flying from his mouth. You broke my... He couldn't finish. The pain was too loud. Naomi stood frozen by the sink, one hand pressed over her mouth, eyes wide and unblinking. She looked like someone watching a car crash in slow motion, horrified but unable to look away. Dae-hyun crouched down until he was eye level with Reed. His voice stayed calm, quiet, the kind of quiet that made people's survival instincts scream. You have 3 seconds to apologize to her. Reed's face was pale, slick with sweat. I didn't. 2 seconds. Please, man, I don't know what she told you, but... 1. I'm sorry. Reed's voice cracked, high-pitched and desperate. Naomi, I'm sorry. I didn't mean... Please don't let him. Dae-hyun stood, looked at Naomi. Do you accept his apology? She didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Just stood there trembling, her waitress apron still tied around her waist, her name tag crooked. She doesn't, Dae-hyun said for her. Reed tried to scramble backward, dragging himself across the floor with his good arm. Wait, we can talk about this. We're done talking. Dae-hyun's phone buzzed. He pulled it out without breaking eye contact with Reed. A text from Min Jae. Transfer complete. Debt cleared. Documents ready. Good. He pocketed the phone, straightened his tie. Your loan business is closed. The diner is now under new ownership. Naomi's debt is erased. Her passport will be delivered to her apartment tomorrow morning. Reed's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. You can't just... I already did. The contracts are illegal. You're an ex-cop, Reed. You know how this works. You also know what happens to ex-cops in prison when certain people find out they were taking advantage of immigrant women. Reed's face went from pale to gray. Dae-hyun turned toward the door, stopped, looked back over his shoulder. If I hear you've contacted her again, if I even hear your name in the same sentence as hers, you won't wake up the next morning. Do you understand? Reed nodded frantically, still clutching his broken wrist. Dae-hyun walked to the door. The bell chimed softly as he pushed it open. Rain poured down outside, washing the parking lot, the street, the world. Dae-hyun. He turned. Naomi stood in the middle of the diner, backlit by the dim overhead lights. Her face was wet. Rain or tears, he couldn't tell. You didn't save me, she said, her voice shaking. You scared me. The words hit harder than Reed's punch ever could have. Dae-hyun held her gaze. I know. Then he walked into the rain. Behind him, Reed whimpered on the floor. Naomi sank into a booth, her hands covering her face. And somewhere in the night, sirens wailed, not for this crime, but for someone else's. Someone else's turn to learn that justice didn't always wear a badge. When the person who saves you is more dangerous than the person who hurt you, who do you fear more, the villain or the hero? The keys hit the counter at dawn. Naomi stared at them like they might explode. Silver, cold, real. Next to them sat a manila envelope, unsealed, with her name written across the front in handwriting she didn't recognize. She'd been awake all night, sitting in the same booth Reed used to count his cash, watching headlights pass on the street outside, replaying the sound of breaking bone over and over until it became a rhythm she couldn't unhear. The diner smelled different now. Like someone had scrubbed away more than just grease and coffee stains. Like violence had a scent that soap couldn't touch. Her hand shook as she opened the envelope. Inside, the deed to the Velvet Spoon. Her name typed across the ownership line. A business license. Her passport, the one Reed had locked away for 2 years. And a single sheet of paper with 3 sentences. The debt is gone. The diner is yours. You're free. No signature. No explanation. Just facts delivered like a coroner's report. Naomi's throat tightened. She should have felt relief. Joy. Something bright and clean. Instead, she felt like someone had cut her chains, but left the scars where the metal had been. The door opened. She looked up, heart hammering, half expecting Reed's ghost or worse, Daehyun's return. But it was just Min Jae, the older man from last night who'd arrived after Daehyun left. He wore a gray suit that fit too well to be accidental. His face was neutral, professional, the way funeral directors looked when they handed you an urn. "Ms. Brooks," he said, his voice formal. "I'm here to answer any questions you might have about the transition." Transition. She repeated the word like it was foreign. "You mean the part where a man I haven't seen in 10 years breaks someone's arm in my workplace and then buys my freedom like it's a car?" Min Jae didn't flinch. Mr. Han doesn't buy people. He removes obstacles. That's not better. Perhaps not, but it's honest. Naomi stood, her legs unsteady. Where is he? Gone. Gone where? Somewhere you don't need to follow. She slammed her palm on the counter. The sound cracked through the empty diner. "Don't treat me like a child. He doesn't get to do this. Doesn't get to just show up, destroy my life, rebuild it, and disappear. He didn't destroy your life," Min Jae said quietly. "Reed Calver did. Mr. Han simply corrected the damage. By breaking his wrist, by breaking his control." The words hung there. True, uncomfortable, undeniable. Naomi sank back into the booth. "What am I supposed to do now? Just run a diner like none of this happened?" Min Jae walked to the window. Outside, the sun was rising, orange and pink bleeding into gray clouds. "You're supposed to live." That's what he wanted. For you to have the choice, he didn't. "What does that mean?" Min Jae turned. For the first time, something human flickered across his face. "It means 10 years ago, a girl was kind to a boy who had nothing. And that boy never forgot. Men like Mr. Han don't save people often, Ms. Brooks. When they do, it costs them." Cost them what? But Min Jae was already walking toward the door. He paused at the threshold, hand on the frame. "He left something else for you. In the office. Top drawer." Then he was gone. Naomi sat alone in the diner that was suddenly, impossibly hers. The keys on the counter caught the morning light. Cold. Silver. Real. She walked to the office. Opened the drawer. Inside was a photograph. Old. Creased. Faded. It was from high school. The cafeteria. Her and Daehyun sitting at a table by the window. She was laughing at something. He was almost smiling, just the corner of his mouth lifting, like joy was a language he was still learning. She didn't remember anyone taking this picture. On the back, in his handwriting, "You made me believe I wasn't a ghost." Naomi pressed the photo to her chest and finally let herself cry. If someone dangerous gave you freedom but took your peace, would you thank them or run from them? Drop your answer below. The sun turned the diner windows into mirrors. Naomi stood outside, watching her reflection overlap with the building. The Velvet Spoon looked different in daylight, smaller, older, more human, like it had been holding its breath for years and finally exhaled. She'd spent the morning cleaning, not because it was dirty, because she needed her hands to do something other than shake. Every surface she touched had a memory attached. The booth where Reed used to sit and count money. The corner where she'd hidden when he got loud. The floor where Daehyun had stood last night, calm and terrifying, like violence was just another Tuesday. Now it was all hers. The thought should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like standing on a bridge with no railings. A car pulled up, old, dented, familiar. Naomi's heart jumped, but when the door opened, it wasn't Daehyun. It was her co-worker, Shanice, a single mom with 3 kids and a laugh that could fill rooms. She took one look at Naomi and frowned. "Girl, you look like you've been awake since last Tuesday." "Close," Naomi said. Shanice walked up, grocery bags hanging from both arms. "I heard Reed got himself arrested last night. Something about an assault charge." Naomi blinked. Arrested? Yeah. Marissa from the laundromat said she saw cops at his place this morning. Took him out in handcuffs. Shanice grinned. About damn time if you ask me. Man's been a creep for years. So that's how they'd handled it. No murder. No disappearance. Just leverage and consequences delivered through legal channels that wouldn't trace back to anyone. Efficient. Terrifying. You okay? Shanice asked, her voice softer now. Naomi forced a smile. Yeah, just processing. Processing what? Freedom. Shanice tilted her head. Freedom from what? Naomi looked at the diner, at the keys in her pocket, at the photograph tucked inside her apron. From thinking I didn't deserve it. They stood there for a moment, two women who'd survived different kinds of traps, watching the morning traffic roll past. So what now? Shanice asked. You gonna reopen this place, or what? Naomi thought about it. About the debt that didn't exist anymore. About the passport sitting in her apartment. About the choice she now had. To stay or leave, to build or burn, to remember or forget. Yeah, she said finally. But different. Better. Shanice nodded. Good. Because this neighborhood needs a spot that doesn't smell like desperation. They walked inside together. The diner was quiet. Empty. Waiting. Naomi flipped the sign from closed to open. Within an hour, the first customers trickled in. Then more. By noon, the place was half full. People ordering pancakes and coffee, laughing, complaining about traffic, living ordinary lives that felt extraordinary just by existing. And for the first time in 2 years, Naomi smiled without forcing it. But every time the door opened, her heart skipped. Every time the bell chimed, she looked up expecting to see black hair and a scarred jaw and eyes that knew too much. He never came. By closing time, she sat in the same booth from the photograph, ran her fingers over the table's surface, wondered if ghosts could feel proud. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single text. The lilies outside are for me. My mother's favorite. She would have liked you. Naomi ran outside. There, by the entrance, was a small planter she hadn't noticed before. White lilies. Fresh. Beautiful. Alive. She looked up and down the street. Empty. Just headlights and distant sirens in a city that never stopped moving. Somewhere out there, Daehyun was watching. Protecting. Disappearing. She pulled out her phone. Typed. Thank you. For everything. Please stay safe. 3 dots appeared. Then vanished. Then appeared again. Finally, you too. Naomi stood there holding her phone, crying in front of a diner that was hers, next to flowers from a ghost who'd once been a boy she'd shown kindness. And she realized something that made her chest ache. Sometimes love wasn't about being together. Sometimes it was about making sure the other person got to be free. Even if freedom meant goodbye. Would you rather have someone in your life who loves you but can't stay, or never know they loved you at all? The explosion tore through the alley at 3 in the morning. Naomi jolted awake, her apartment walls shaking, car alarms screaming to life up and down the block. She stumbled to the window, heart slamming against her ribs. 2 streets over, orange flames licked the sky. Black smoke billowed like something angry had been set loose. Sirens wailed, fire trucks, ambulances, police cars converging on the scene like wolves circling wounded prey. She grabbed her phone. No messages, no calls, just the emergency alert flashing. Explosion reported. Avoid area. Her hand shook as she pulled on jeans and a sweatshirt. Shoved her feet into sneakers. Ran. The streets were chaos. People in bathrobes standing on porches. Parents holding children. Someone's dog barking nonstop. The sound sharp and primal. Naomi pushed through the crowd gathering at the police barricade. Firefighters dragged hoses. EMTs shouted coordinates. And there, in the middle of the wreckage, was a car, or what used to be a car. Now it was just a blackened skeleton, twisted metal and shattered glass glowing with residual heat. Ma'am, you need to step back, a cop said, arm outstretched. She ignored him. Who was inside? Mom. Who was inside the car? The cop's face shifted. Pity. The kind people wear when they're about to deliver bad news. We don't have confirmation yet, but... Reed Calver, someone said behind her. Naomi spun around. An older woman in a pink robe stood there, arms crossed, face hard. I saw them pull him out, or what was left of him. Serves him right if you ask me. Man was a snake. The world tilted. Naomi's knees buckled. Someone caught her. A paramedic who smelled like smoke and antiseptic. Easy, easy. Do you need to sit down? She couldn't answer, couldn't breathe, just stared at the wreckage and felt something cold and heavy settle in her stomach. Reed was dead, not arrested, not in jail, dead. And she knew, God, she knew who was responsible. The paramedic guided her to the back of an ambulance. Gave her water she couldn't drink. Asked questions she couldn't answer. Eventually, he let her go with a warning to call someone if she felt faint. She walked back to her apartment in a daze. The sun was starting to rise, turning the smoke gray instead of black. The city smelled like burned rubber and gasoline. Inside her apartment, she sat on the edge of her bed, stared at her phone. At the last text from Dae-hyun, "You too." Her hands moved before her brain caught up. She typed, "What did you do?" No response. She tried calling. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Same thing. Hours passed. The news played on a loop. Local reporters speculating about gang violence, retaliation, unsolved crimes catching up to an ex-cop with a dirty past. They call it justice. Naomi called it murder. By evening, her phone buzzed. Not Dae-hyun. Min-jae. Mr. Han asked me to tell you he's sorry, but some debts can only be paid one way. She stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then she threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall. Didn't break. Just clattered to the floor like her anger wasn't enough to destroy anything. She cried. Not soft tears. Loud, ugly, choking sobs that came from somewhere deep and raw. Because Reed had deserved consequences, but not death. Because Dae-hyun had saved her, but also damned himself. Because freedom tasted like ash when it came wrapped in blood. The next morning, she opened the diner like nothing had happened. Made coffee, served pancakes, smiled at customers. But every time the door opened, she flinched. And every night, she dreamed of explosions and lilies and a boy who'd once believed kindness was enough. When someone kills for you, does that make them a monster or a protector? And does the answer change depending on how much you love them? The rain came back. Naomi stood at the diner's counter, watching water streak the windows like the sky was crying. It had been 3 days since the explosion. 3 days since Reed's name stopped appearing in headlines. 3 days since Dae-hyun vanished like he never existed. The diner was empty. Too early for the breakfast crowd. Too quiet for comfort. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw fire. Heard screaming metal. Felt the weight of knowing someone had died because of her. Not for her. Because of her. There was a difference. She was learning it the hard way. The door opened. Naomi's heart stopped. But it wasn't Dae-hyun. It was a delivery guy holding a small package, rain dripping off his jacket. "Naomi Brooks?" he asked. She nodded. "Sign here." She did. He left. The door chimed shut. The package was light, wrapped in brown paper. No return address. Inside was an envelope. Thick, official-looking. Her hand shook as she opened it. The deed to the velvet spoon. Updated. Fully transferred. Along with a business license, insurance papers, and a cashier's check for $50,000 with a note for renovations. Or anything else. At the bottom of the envelope was a single piece of paper. Handwritten. His handwriting. "Naomi, I want to apologize for what I did. You deserved freedom, and Reed would have never stopped. Men like him don't change. They just find new victims. I know you're angry. You should be. What I did was cruel, permanent, unforgivable. But I'd do it again. Not because I'm good. I'm not. I stopped being good the night my father died in a warehouse fire set by men who thought his life was worth less than their profit margin. I did it because you're the only person who ever made me feel human. And humans protect the people they love. I'm leaving Los Angeles. Probably leaving the country. There are people who will come looking for me eventually, and I won't let them find you in the crossfire. Live, Naomi. Build something beautiful. Find someone who deserves you. Someone whose hands aren't stained. Thank you for the lunches. For the laughter. For believing a broken boy could be more than his scars. You were right. Dae-hyun. Naomi read it twice, 3 times, until the words blurred. Then she ran, out the door, into the rain, down the street, toward the only place she could think of, the parking lot where his car had idled that first night. He was there, standing by a black sedan, suitcase in the trunk, engine running, hair slicked back from the rain, the scar on his jaw catching the gray light. He saw her, didn't move, just watched like he'd been waiting for this. She stopped 3 feet away, gasping, soaked, furious, and heartbroken and grateful all at once. "You don't get to do this," she said, her voice breaking. "You don't get to save me and then run." "I'm not running," he said quietly. "I'm protecting you." "From what?" "From me. That's not your choice to make." His jaw tightened. "Naomi." "No." She stepped closer. "You think I don't know what you are? You think I can't see the blood on your hands?" Her voice cracked. "But I also see the boy who used to sit with me at lunch, who tried so hard to pronounce English words, who smiled like it hurt because he wasn't used to being happy." Rain poured between them. Thunder rumbled somewhere distant. "That boy is dead," Dae-hyun said. "Then why are you still protecting me?" Naomi's voice dropped to a whisper. "Why do you still care?" He looked away. "Because some ghosts don't know how to let go." She reached out, touched his hand. He flinched but didn't pull away. "Then don't," she said. "Don't let go." For a moment, the world was just rain and silence, and 2 people who'd survived different kinds of violence. Then Dae-hyun pulled his hand back. "I can't stay, Naomi. People like me, we don't get happy endings." "You're wrong." Her voice was steady now. "Certain. Maybe you just never stayed long enough to see one." He opened the car door, paused, looked back at her one last time. "If I survive this," he said, "I'll come back. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday, when I'm not a danger to you. And if you don't survive," his mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile, "then at least I'll die remembering the one person who saw me as human." He got in the car. The engine roared. Headlights cut through the rain. Naomi stood there, water streaming down her face, watching the taillights disappear into the storm. And for the first time since the explosion, she didn't feel guilty. She felt something else. Something that might have been hope if hope could survive in the wreckage. If you had to choose between safety and love, which would you pick? And would you regret it for the rest of your life? Comment your answer and share this story with someone who believes in second chances. 6 months passed like seasons changing without permission. The Velvet Spoon reopened on a Tuesday. New paint, soft yellow instead of faded cream. New booths, navy blue with silver trim. New menu, comfort food with a twist, the kind that made people feel like they were eating at their grandmother's house if their grandmother knew how to cook Korean-American fusion. Naomi hired Shanice as assistant manager, brought in 2 new waitresses, both single moms, both survivors of bad situations. She paid them fair wages, gave them benefits, never asked about their pasts. The diner became what it was always supposed to be, a place where broken things got put back together. Customers came, regulars formed. The corner booth, the one from the photograph, became known as the lucky table because couples who sat there always seemed to leave smiling. Naomi kept it reserved most nights, just in case. She told herself she wasn't waiting. She was just being sentimental. But every time the door opened, her heart jumped. Every time she heard footsteps she didn't recognize, she looked up, hoping, hurting, healing. The lilies kept coming. Every month, white and perfect. No card, no return address. Just flowers that proved ghosts could still be kind. One evening, as she was closing, an older couple came in. Korean, well-dressed. The woman had kind eyes and silver hair. The man had a scar along his temple and hands that looked like they'd worked hard their whole lives. "We're about to close," Naomi said gently, "but I can get you something to go if." "We're not here for food," the woman said. Her English was accented but clear. "We're here because our son told us about you." Naomi's breath caught. "Your son?" The man pulled out a photograph. Old, creased, the same one Dae-hyun had left in the drawer. Her and him in the cafeteria, laughing. "He carried this for years," the woman said softly. "Even when he thought he'd lost everything, he kept this." "Is he?" Naomi couldn't finish. Couldn't ask if he was alive or dead or somewhere in between. The woman smiled, sad but warm. He's in Seoul, working, trying to build something better than what he left behind. Is he safe? The man nodded. As safe as someone like him can be. Naomi's eyes filled. She didn't try to stop the tears. The woman reached across the counter, placed an envelope in Naomi's hands. He wanted you to have this, but he also wanted you to know he's not coming back. Not because he doesn't care, because he cares too much. Naomi opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a single plane ticket to Seoul, one way, dated for next month, and a note. If you want to see what I'm building, if you want to understand why I had to leave, call me. No pressure, no expectations. Just a chance to see that the boy you believed in isn't completely gone. The choice is yours. It always was. DH. Naomi looked up. Why did he send you? The woman's eyes glistened. Because he wanted you to know he's not just the man you saw that night. He's also still the boy you helped. And that boy wants to thank you. Properly. The couple left. The diner fell quiet. Naomi stood there holding the ticket, staring at the departure date, feeling the weight of a choice she'd never expected to have. She looked around the velvet spoon, at the walls she'd painted, the booth she'd chosen, the life she'd built from ashes and lilies and a ghost's guilt. Then she looked at the ticket. Some people would call it crazy, dangerous, self-destructive. But Naomi had learned something in the months since that rainy night. Kindness wasn't weakness. And sometimes the bravest thing you could do was believe that broken people could still build beautiful things. She tucked the ticket into her apron pocket, right next to the photograph. Outside, the city hummed. Cars passed. People lived. And somewhere across the ocean, a man with a scarred jaw and haunted eyes was trying to prove that monsters could learn to be human again. Naomi didn't know if she'd use the ticket, didn't know if seeing him again would heal her or break her. But she knew one thing, the story wasn't over. It was just waiting for her to decide how it ended. And for the first time in her life, she got to choose. The next morning, she flipped the sign to open, served coffee and pancakes, smiled at customers, lived. But every night, she looked at that ticket, at that photograph, at the lilies that kept arriving like clockwork. And every night, she wondered what Seoul looked like in the spring. The plane touched down at Incheon International Airport on Thursday. Naomi stepped off with nothing but a carry-on bag and a heart that wouldn't stop hammering. Seoul sprawled below the descent. Endless buildings, neon signs even in daylight, mountains in the distance like sleeping giants. She told no one she was coming. Not Shanice, not the staff. Just locked the diner for 2 weeks, left detailed instructions, and bought a return ticket she wasn't sure she'd use. The airport was massive, glass and steel, and thousands of people moving with purpose she didn't feel. Signs in Korean and English blurred together. Her phone buzzed. International roaming activated. One new message. Unknown number. Terminal 2. Exit 4. Black car. License plate ends in 8847. Her stomach dropped. He knew. Somehow, he knew she'd come. She found the exit, pushed through automatic doors into humid air that smelled like rain and exhaust. And there, parked exactly where the text said, was a black sedan. Sleek, expensive, tinted windows. The back door opened. Min Jae stepped out, still in a gray suit, still wearing that funeral director expression. Ms. Brooks, he said, almost smiling. Welcome to Seoul. How'd he know I'd be here today? He's been tracking the ticket since his parents gave it to you. Hoped you'd use it. Didn't expect you would. Naomi climbed into the car. The leather seats smelled new. Classical music played softly through the speakers, something with violins that sounded like longing. Where are we going? She asked. Min Jae pulled into traffic. Somewhere he's been building. Something he wants you to see before you decide if you want to see him. The city blurred past. Skyscrapers, street markets, people on scooters weaving through cars. Neon signs advertising things she couldn't read. It was overwhelming and beautiful and nothing like Los Angeles. They drove for 40 minutes, out of the city center, into quieter neighborhoods with tree-lined streets and low buildings. Finally, Min Jae parked in front of a 3-story structure. Modern, clean lines, large windows, a A sign above the door in Korean and English, Second Chances Community Center. Naomi's breath caught. He built this 6 months ago, Min Jae said quietly. After he left you, said he needed to prove something to himself. They walked inside. The lobby was bright. Natural light streaming through skylights. Comfortable furniture. Plants in every corner. Photos on the walls of smiling people. A young woman at the desk looked up. Min Jae. Is this? She stopped. Stared at Naomi. Oh, you're her. I'm who? The woman smiled. The one from the photograph. He talks about you sometimes. Says you taught him what kindness looks like. Naomi's eyes burned. She blinked hard. Min Jae led her down a hallway, through double doors, into a large room filled with people. Teenagers, young adults, some older. Korean, Southeast Asian, African mixed. All working on computers, sitting in groups, talking with counselors. What is this place? Naomi whispered. A refuge, Min Jae said. For people escaping debt traps, trafficking, gang violence. He funds it completely. Offers legal help, job training, housing assistance. Everything he wished someone had given him. A door at the far end opened. Dae-hyun stepped through. He looked different. His hair was shorter. He wore a simple black sweater and jeans instead of a suit. The scar was still there, but something in his eyes had changed. Less ice, more exhaustion. Like he'd been carrying something heavy for months and finally learned how to set it down. He saw her, stopped walking, just stood there in the middle of the community center he'd built, staring at the girl who'd once shared her lunch with a lonely boy. Naomi couldn't move, couldn't breathe, just watched him watching her. Then he crossed the room in 6 strides and stopped 3 feet away. You came, he said. His voice was rough, disbelieving. You asked. I didn't think, he stopped, swallowed. I didn't think I deserved you, too. Around them, the community center hummed with life. People laughing, typing, healing. 50 people who existed because one man decided guilt could be turned into something useful. Is this what you've been doing? Naomi asked, her voice shaking. Building this. Trying to. He looked around, trying to prove I'm more than what I did. That maybe the boy you believed in isn't completely dead. Dae-hyun. I killed a man for you, Naomi. His voice dropped. Raw. I didn't lose sleep over it. I'd do it again. That's who I am. But I'm also trying to be someone else. Someone you wouldn't be afraid of. She stepped closer, close enough to see the dark circles under his eyes, the silver starting at his temples. The weight of 6 months spent trying to outrun his own nature. I was never afraid of you, she said quietly. I was afraid of what loving you would cost. The words hung there. Heavy. True. Impossible to take back. Dae-hyun's expression cracked, just for a second. Then he rebuilt it. And now, he asked. Naomi looked around the center, at the people he'd saved, at the life he was building from the wreckage of who he used to be. Now I think maybe some costs are worth paying. When someone builds a second chance, not just for themselves, but for everyone they couldn't save before, does that erase what they've done? Or does it just prove they're trying? They walked through Seoul as the sun set. Dae-hyun kept a careful distance. Not touching, not crowding, just existing next to her, like he was relearning how to be in someone's presence without armor. The city transformed at night. Neon signs blazing, street food vendors calling out, couples walking hand in hand. It was alive in a way Los Angeles never felt. Less desperate, more hopeful. I didn't think I'd ever come back here, Dae-hyun said. They were crossing a bridge over the Han River. Water reflected city lights like scattered stars. Too many ghosts. And now the ghosts feel quieter, like they're not screaming anymore, just watching. They stopped at a railing, leaned against it, watched boats drift below. Tell me about the center, Naomi said. How did you start it? He was quiet for a long moment. Min Jae found a girl, 17, Vietnamese, trafficked into Seoul with promises of restaurant work. By the time we got to her, she'd been locked in a basement for 8 months. Naomi's stomach turned. We got her out, Dae-hyun continued. Got her medical care, legal status, a safe place to live. And when she asked what she owed me, I realized I'd spent years making people owe me things. Money, loyalty, fear. He looked at Naomi. You were the only person who ever gave me something without expecting payment. Lunch isn't exactly a life debt. It was to me. A street performer nearby played violin, something sad and beautiful that made people stop and listen. After I left Los Angeles, Daehyun said, I couldn't sleep. Kept seeing your face when you ran after me in the rain. Kept hearing you say I scared you. He exhaled slowly. So I started building this. Thought maybe if I saved enough people, I'd stop feeling like a monster. And has it worked? No. His voice was honest. Painful. But it's made me feel like maybe monsters can still do good things, even if they can't stop being monsters. Naomi turned to face him fully. You're not a monster, Daehyun. You're just someone who learned to survive in a world that tried to kill you. That doesn't excuse what I've done. No, but explains it. She reached out, hesitated, then placed her hand over his. An explanation isn't the same as forgiveness, but it's a start. His hand was warm, calloused, shaking slightly. Why did you come? He asked. Really? Because I spent 6 months trying to hate you, Naomi said. And I couldn't. Because every time I looked at those lilies, I remembered the boy who used to struggle with English homework, who smiled like a hurt, who made me feel like kindness mattered. She squeezed his hand. I came because I needed to know if that boy was still in there. And she looked at the community center across the river, at the lights in the windows, at the lives being rebuilt inside. I think he is, she said softly. I think he's just older now, and sadder, and trying really hard to make up for things that can't be made up for. Daehyun's eyes glistened. He didn't cry. Men like him didn't cry, but something in his expression broke just enough to let light through. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. How to be close to someone without hurting them. Neither do I, Naomi said. But maybe we figure out together. They stood there on the bridge, hands touching, the city breathing around them. And for the first time in months, the weight on Daehyun's chest felt lighter. Not gone, just bearable. Stay, he said quietly. Not forever, just for now. Let me show you what I'm building. Let me prove I'm trying. Naomi looked at him, really looked, at the scar, the exhaustion, the hope fighting through the guilt. Okay, she said. For now. He smiled. Small, real, the kind of smile that said maybe happiness wasn't impossible, just difficult. They walked back through the city together, not holding hands, not quite ready for that, but close enough that their shoulders almost touched. And somewhere in the night, the ghost stopped screaming and started listening. If you had to choose between the life you built alone or the risk of building something new with someone broken, which would take more courage? Drop your thoughts below and share this with someone who believes damaged people can still create beautiful things. Naomi stayed for 3 weeks. She met the people at the center, learned their names, their stories, the ways they were stitching themselves back together. There was Ji-woo, the girl Daehyun had mentioned, who now worked as a translator helping other survivors. There was Kwame, a Nigerian man who'd escaped labor trafficking and now taught woodworking classes. There was Maria, a Filipino woman who'd been trapped in domestic servitude and now ran the center's legal aid program. Each one had a story that started with violence and ended with Daehyun showing up. He doesn't talk much, Ji-woo told Naomi one afternoon. They were in the center's cafe, drinking tea. But he listens, really listens, like he understands what it feels like to be trapped. He does, Naomi said quietly. He talks about you sometimes, Ji-woo continued. Says you're the reason he knows kindness is real. Naomi's throat tightened. I just share my lunch with him. Sometimes that's enough. The days fell into rhythm. Mornings at the center, helping however she could. Afternoons exploring Seoul with Daehyun. Markets, temples, quiet neighborhoods where old Korea still existed. Evenings on his apartment balcony, watching the city lights and talking about everything and nothing. He told her about Busan, about his father's death, about the years spent building an empire on other people's fear because fear was the only language he understood. She told him about her mother's death, about the debt that swallowed her, about the 2 years spent feeling like a ghost in her own life. We're both haunted, she said one night, just by different things. Maybe that's why this works, he replied. Ghosts recognize each other. But it wasn't all heavy. Sometimes they laughed. real laughter that felt like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. He taught her Korean phrases. She taught him how to make proper American pancakes. They watched terrible movies and argued about whether the endings were hopeful or tragic. It felt normal, dangerously normal. On her last night, Daehyun took her to Namsan Tower. They rode the cable car up, watching Seoul spread below them like a glowing circuit board. At the top, surrounded by tourists and love locks, he turned to her. "I know you have to go back," he said. "The diner. Your life. I'm not asking you to give that up. But I'm also not asking you to forget this." He gestured to the city, to the center, to the 3 weeks they'd spent learning each other's scars. "I want to keep building, keep trying, and I want you to be part of it, however that looks." Naomi looked out at Seoul, at the city that had given him a second chance to be more than his worst choices. "Long distance is hard," she said. "I know. I can't leave the diner for months at a time. I know. And you can't come back to Los Angeles." Not with, she stopped. Didn't need to finish. They both knew the risks. "I know," he said again. "But I also know that 6 months without you almost killed me. In 3 weeks with you made me remember why I want to stay alive." She turned to him. His face was serious, open, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. "What are you asking me, Daehyun?" "I'm asking if you'll let me love you. Messily, from a distance, with no guarantees and 1,000 complications." He took her hand. "I'm asking if the girl who once believed in a broken boy can believe in a broken man trying to be better." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I already do." He pulled her close. Not kissing, just holding, like she was something precious he'd thought he'd lost forever. Below them, Seoul pulsed with life. Above them, stars fought through light pollution. And between them, something fragile and impossible started to take root. "I'll come back," she whispered. "Every few months. For as long as it takes." "Takes for what?" "For you to believe you deserve this." He pulled back just enough to see her face. "And if I never believe it, then I'll keep coming back anyway." They stayed on that tower until the city lights started dimming. Until the first hints of dawn touched the horizon. Until it was time for her to leave and time for him to keep building. At the airport, Min-jae waited with the car. Daehyun walked her to security. They stood there, two people from different worlds who'd somehow found each other twice. "Thank you," he said, "for coming, for staying, for not running when you saw what I really am." "I saw what you really are 10 years ago," Naomi said. "Everything else is just noise." She kissed him, quick, soft, a promise, not a goodbye. And she walked through security without looking back, because looking back would have broken her. And she needed to stay whole enough to keep the diner running, keep the staff paid, keep the life she'd built alive. But she also needed to leave room for this. For him, for the impossible hope that monsters could learn to be human and humans could learn to love them anyway. On the plane, she pulled out her phone, typed a message, made it through security. "Miss you already." His response came immediately. "The lilies will keep coming. So will I. Eventually." She smiled, closed her eyes, and let herself believe that some love stories didn't need to be simple to be real. If you believe that love isn't about being perfect, but about trying every day to be better than you were yesterday, subscribe and turn on notifications. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that second chances aren't just given. They're built one choice at a time. Drop your thoughts in the comments and inspire others. Because the most powerful stories aren't the ones with easy answers. They're the ones that remind us we're all just trying to be a little more human. Thank you for being here. Your support changes lives. See you in the next story.